Hey guys, Dagger here again. Now, this is another story since I didn't realize today was the 4th of July. I am going to go through a lot of stuff real quick before, telling my story. I want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. I want to say thanks to all of our veterans for being in because I come from a military family. I want to show my thanks. Or at least say my thanks. Now, I'm going to go on to some friends real quick, let them know, what's going on. So, recently, during this footage, I think I'm going to make it a long story, but this gameplay, I want to say thanks to Sniper for recording with me of this gameplay. Now, he didn't record it. I don't think he recorded it, but we recorded it so it could be part of my stories. And he wanted to see. You gotta be quiet over there. I've got a bearded dragon. She's trying to cause noise everywhere. But anyways, we shall get into this story now. So this story revolves more on family, and I don't think it really has anything to do with the 4th of July at all. Which I am sorry if you looked forward. I don't know. To the 4th of July, because this story is not really much in it, but a while ago, way before I was born, my dad was about 2 years old, I think he said. It was in North Carolina. He told me it this way. He said he was jumping on a trampoline, and the next thing you know, he hears a gunshot, and he falls off of a trampoline and cracks his head open. Well, little did, he know that would be the last time he saw his dad's part of the family. And it was this whole family reunion that it happened at. Well, what he found out is his dad was dead, supposedly shot himself. That's what he was told by his mom, his stepdad, and his sisters. Well, he spent all of his life after this, because his dad was an Air Force mechanic during Vietnam, and that was my grandpa. Well, basically he got taken away. They were planning to go to Colorado. Well, they broke down in Oklahoma, but before all of that, I want to go back to North Carolina. So North Carolina, they lived in a shed for about when he was 2, I think he said, until he was 13, and then they decided to move to Colorado. Well, all that time he told me all these stories about how his stepdad had pulled guns on him, threatened to kill him, and one of the ones that really stuck out to me that made me question his dad so-called killing himself was that his stepdad had a sawed-off double barrel. And what happened is he got shoved up against a wall one night when he came back from whatever he was doing. I can't even remember all the stories he tells me. But this double barrel's pointed at his head. Well, my grandma had unloaded the ammunition from it. My step-granddad, he is pointing the double barrel at my dad's forehead. Well, he tells my dad that he'll blow my dad's effing brains out, and my dad tells him to do it. Well, he pulls the trigger and it just clicks. One of the luckiest moments in my dad's life, he always tells us. Well, his mom told him to run, leave. Well, he would come back later on. And so they decide they're going to move to Colorado at this point, because the people that they were living on their land, I think they were farmers, told them to get off. They had to leave. Well, they're moving, to Colorado in a U-Haul and the U-Haul breaks down in Oklahoma. So, down in Oklahoma, I think they said OKC is where they lived. Now, at this time, it wasn't as big as it is now, and it's still not very big, but it's bigger than any city in Oklahoma. Now, we're right outside of Oklahoma City, where I live, so we're not part of it. But he spent until, think he said he was 19. He was 17 when he started dating my mom, which she was 14 at the time, and they've stayed together since then. Well, he used to be big on, smoking. He would have went down that path, and he quit smoking because she told him he had to or he wasn't going to be with her. So he's quit, and he quit back then, and very lucky that he did. But all these stories that he tells us leads up to this year. Now, all this time, earlier yet last year, which really upset me too, is that we thought that my grandpa, my dad's dad, had committed suicide the whole time. And it's one of those things, you tend to be mad at people who do that with no reasoning. So I don't like going into this, but it's something for you guys to know on my side. So what happens is, through this time, we've all been thinking that he's killed himself. We go to North Carolina, where his grave is. His grave is on Fort Bragg, and he is a specialist rank 4, or a specialist 4, however you'd say that. But he his grave was there, and my dad, it was the first time that I'd seen him cry ever, at all. And the time I saw him cry, he was crying, asking himself, why did his dad commit suicide? And he was so mad at his dad. He always, whenever we brought up the situation, he said that his dad was not worth talking about. And it's one of those things that we didn't know the full truth. We were told what we were told. Well, he got a call from his older sister. He is the middle child. And, his older sister told him that our grandma, his mom, told her that... So, I wanna clear it up so you guys don't get confused. Our grandma told my aunt that she had killed, or planned to kill, our grandpa with our step-grandpa. And at this point, my dad didn't believe it, because my aunt, she's a freaking druggie. She's one of my 2 aunts that are druggies. So he didn't believe her at the time. Well, what he had were some documents of paperwork and stuff showing how our grandpa had killed himself. And by our, I mean me and my siblings. And it was, man, it was rough looking at it, because first of all, the diagram, the way it was showing the bullet entering was at the top of the forehead. The bullet entered there. Now, my question was, why would someone commit suicide like that? Normally, you'd see them put it in their mouth and pull the trigger. Well, it seemed like the police had just been paid off to just walk away from it. And we saw all these documents, all these emails that this detective had that had been passed down to us from our grandma. Now, what it was is it was passed to our aunt, who passed it to us. The druggie passed it to us. Well, she was told before our grandma died that our grandma and step-grandpa had killed our real grandpa. Which we didn't believe. Well, looking at all this paperwork, they were talking about in there that one of the letters she had written was that our grandpa's best friend, which I'm not going to say the name of my step-grandpa, but it was our step-grandpa in quotation marks. He was the best friend that they that our grandpa wanted to marry her if he ever died. Well, we find out that that's a load of crap. Now, this part of the story goes back to earlier last year. About halfway through last year, we come across another group of people by the last name Dagger. Now, it's not spelled how you think it would be spelled. But, you know, my dad and this guy get to talking, and he's like, no, I don't think we're part of a family, or in a family. Well, in February, we get contacted by this guy. Ends up, this guy is my dad's cousin. He is my dad's cousin from my grandpa's side. Whew. Man, that was relieving because, you know, we're going later this year in about a few weeks from right now, today, to see them. Now, ends up, this is how I found out we were a military family, is because every one of the males has served on that side. Now, on my mother's side, not as many people have served in the military, but it comes from a military family on my dad's side. So we find out through them. He starts talking. He's like, yeah, so you guys must know, you know, and he says the name of my step-granddad, and they're like, who? We don't know a so-and-so. He's like, he's my dad's best friend. And they're like, no, your dad's best friend's still alive, and he works on cars as a mechanic here in North Carolina. And my dad's like, oh my god. So he gets into talking with them. That's how we found out about the Chevelle, about his uncle Harry, and everybody. And you know, we started finding out, you know, all this stuff that in the end, what had happened is it was a Costco or somewhere. I don't remember. It was a place that my granddad worked, and he went to lock up a vault. Well, my step-granddad followed him in with a 38 special, and my step-granddad had walked behind him. Well, as soon as he finished locking up the vault, he turned and bam, right through the forehead. Got shot. Everybody started screaming that, not everybody, but my grandma and my step-grandpa started screaming that my real grandpa had killed himself, shot himself in the head playing Russian roulette. Well, what falls to that is that the cylinder had 5 other shots in it. And all these written letters that were false, his best friend isn't even my granddad, granddad, I don't know. But, you know, we find out about this stuff, and it's really upsetting to my dad, because the one time he got to see his dad's grave, he was mad at his dad, which was in no way right in any form. And it really, he was really mad, and he wanted to kill our step-granddad, but our step-granddad was already dead. He died from kidney failure, and he wanted to kill our grandma because, and sadly, she's dead. Or not sadly, but, you know, she's dead. because she had, I think it was a tumor in the brain or something like that that killed her. And you know, he since then he's changed so much of his view on that, and he's found out that, you know, he was taken at 2 years old from his dad's side of the family, never to see him again. He didn't get to see his grandparents because they took him from his dad's side, and now they're dead. He's got a grandma from his mom's side who didn't even know about this, and when she found out, she was pretty upset. He didn't want to tell his younger sister because her dad is my step-grandpa. So he's kind of kept it to himself, and we all still think that the druggy aunt is crazy, but all these documents from an investigator, and it just built up this proof. And when we were told that it was our step-grandpa that had ended up killing him, whew, that changed my perspective, my dad's perspective, and my, you know, the family's perspective on our step-grandpa. Because, I mean, all the stuff we've heard about him, how he always wanted to kill my dad, it kind of built up that he saw my grandpa in my dad. And it brings that same point of why he almost killed me at one point. And because he saw my grandpa in me and my dad in me. And it's just, it changes your perspective when you look at this stuff. And it really upsets me that they did that, because I never got to meet my grandpa, and I've you know, I've thought about it before, and I've had my own ways of coping with it. And you know, it's just, you know, I've gotten over it at this point. I realize that he's not here, and every Veterans Day I wish he could be here, because I mean, he was part of the military. I believe they said he served in the front line, and when he came back, he worked on helicopters as a mechanic. But I wish he could be around, but, you know, life's life. It goes the way it goes, and I don't know how else to explain it, but I just want to wish you all a happy 4th of July. And I'm sorry that this story may not have been the way you guys would have wanted to hear, but just had to have a story out, and this is a longer story too. But if you guys like this, don't forget to like, comment, I guess, if what you want the next video to be, subscribe, I guess. And once again, a thanks to Sniper, whose channel I will put in the description, and I will put the game in the description. And otherwise than that, you guys, I hope you have a great 4th of July. Again, I will say that. So, until the next story, peace out, you guys.